Hello, and welcome back to the EJ Ward Field View Training Series. In this video, we're going to be going over grid reports. So to start out, we need to drop down the reporting folder here, and then we need to go into grids. Now in the last video, we went over regular reports. In grid reports, it looks a lot like this screen does here with the grid. So let's go ahead and find a report, and we'll do a transaction report here. And from this transaction report, we'll go ahead and do transactions by date and time. Once the report comes up, since this is a report and we aren't creating one, it's going to come up with a query form for us. So we can go ahead and put in a date and time range. We can fill out the query if we want to. We can also close the form, and I'll show you a little bit of the differences after we set this up. But we're going to go ahead and do about 2 to 3 months back. And we'll select January 1st, and then we'll go to this one and just select today. You can select today by just clicking on the today button. After we've selected that information, if you want to query any of this other information, for instance, this one here with vehicles, you can put in whatever you would like to and then hit query. That's going to pull up all of the vehicles that match what's inside of your search. If you don't search for anything, it's going to pull up all of the vehicles in the system, and then you can check which vehicles you want to put in this one. I want all the vehicles, so I'm just going to go ahead and click on Refresh Grid. Once it's completely done, that grid's going to go ahead and come up. And from here, we can actually start to change data unlike we can with the regular report. By that, I mean we can change what it's grouped by, what columns are there, much like we can do any of the other screens inside of Field View. The big difference between this and the other screens is that we can group. So let's say I wanted to group this by product. I could click on product and hold it and then drag it all the way to the top column that's here, this top gray column. And if you can see it on the very left side of the window here, you have your arrows on the top and bottom showing that it's going to drag it there or drop it there. Once I drop that, now I have all the different products, and I can just expand each product here, and now I have all the transactions inside of there. I can also change what columns I have in this report by hitting select columns. When I hit select columns, it brings up my field chooser just like any other page, and then I can just drag and drop these guys in. So let's say I wanted to have the terminal number here right in front of the pump number, which we already have the terminal number. It just shows it a little bit differently. I like the other one where it actually has the NO dot in front of it. So I'm going to take that other one away. And you can doctor up the report that you want. And then once you are ready to save it or export it if you want to, you can export it to a file. And then saving this guy, you can save that report and basically save it as another report. So you can either save it as another report by renaming it here, or you can just save over that current report by saving it by the same name. You can change the permissions, so you can do public or private. So we'll keep this one public. We don't want to save the query, and then we can also save this for scheduling just like we can with the regular reports, and we'll go over how to schedule this report in a later video. So if I want to save the new format that I have, this is basically a way of creating a report from an already made report, but I can only save it as a grid. I can't save it as a regular report, and I can't save it as a pivot grid. Exporting it is just as simple as any of the other pages we have that have a grid, as you just drop this down and you can export it to these different formats, which are the same formats you can export any of the other pages to. We can also do filtering here, so we can do your main filtering here as well as the query screen. And then we can also group by multiple things as well. So let's say I want to go ahead and group by the terminal number first and then the product. So I could drop this terminal and move it over to where it's going to be in front of the product. And it goes from left to right in how it groups it. So now I have the terminal, and I can drop down the terminal. And then I'm going to have the two products, or any amount of products that it had for that terminal. Then I can drop down that. So you have a bunch of different things you can group by. You can group multiple things. And on top of that, if you want to take the groups off, like let's say I don't want to group by product anymore, I just want terminal, I can just drag and drop that product down, and I can put the product down here, or I can take it out completely. And I want the product, so I'm going to go ahead and put it behind the unit. And now we have the report that I want. So now I can export this, and I can export it to an Adobe I can export it to comma separated value, the Microsoft Excel, rich text format, or I can save this as a completely different report, which I'm going to go ahead and do. We're going to go ahead and save this for scheduling so we can schedule out this report at a later date, and we're going to make it public permissions, and we're going to go ahead and click on save. Once we save that, it's going to run the report again, but we don't need to run that report again because we already had it ran, and I can go ahead and close the form, close this up, and then I can look for that report inside of here now. And here I have the report that I made. I can go ahead and click on that guy. And here I can go ahead and run my report again if I want to. This concludes the video for going over grid reports inside of the FieldView system. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.